That interruption on our link. The show we were having earlier, we had a bit of a technical hitch, but nonetheless, we are back. And the conversation we were having before that interruption is that summit that concluded yesterday in the United States, and the US President Joe Biden announced that he supports the African Union joining the G20, a club of nations, permanently. And he also said that Africa belongs to the table in every room where challenges are being discussed and in every situation where discussions are taking place. So the question we were discussing before that was, is the US sincere in its approach, or is it another appeasement move with an attempt to tame China, Russia, and even Turkey, these countries' influence in the continent? So that is where we were before that. So, Doc, we are back now.
The tough question, therefore, that viewers, we got interrupted before. Our network had a few difficulties, but we are back. Our satellite is picked it very well. The heads of state have gone to America and they come back. Some of them have flown, some of them have arrived in their countries in Africa. But one question that lingers in the minds of any African watching this television and any other television. Yesterday I was on a television where over 150 million viewers, those in Nigeria and across the continents of the world, were watching. I asked one question: why do we go there in different capacities? Why do we go there single when we have African Union? The Organization of African Union is supposed to represent us as organized people of Africa. But you look at every president went in a room, dark room, to ask for what he thinks he has found the father. When can we unite, Miriam? The tough question is, why should Africa go there, 55 countries, arrive in the United States, each with its own program of a dam, a hospital, the road, education, a railway. Some people ask for money, airports, includes what? Look, why is it not possible for African Union Secretariat to do what we call a feasibility study across the entire Africa, Miriam, and find out that these are the problems that affect Kenya? Kenya, for 60 years or more, or 59 years, it has got one part of its country which cries about water every day, every year since I was born. Water, 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 water. No boreholes. The country has sunk their money, government upon governments, not a single borehole. Uganda has a perennial problem of floods, Mount Elgon, floods, landslide. The country has sunk their money. Nigeria has 241 dams. Oh, Africa. 241 waterfalls. Some of the waterfalls are equivalent to Victoria Falls. But not a single dam has ever been built in Nigeria. Nigeria continues to pollute Africa worse than any other polluter which we want to tax in China and America. The amount of generators that are bought in the Middle East, in China, in Dubai, that are installed in Nigeria, you can never find them on the African continent anywhere. So why can't African Union go on table, sit down, and tell these guys, look, this is our position. Now, the biggest conmanship of the United States of America policy is to knee-jerk this whole operation, because Russia was coming in. Russia had arrived. China has arrived. Chinese came with the money and built roads. Some of the things that have happened in Africa shock Americans. For example, the motorway you people have in your country, Kenya. I've not used it for some time. But your country, you have a very good motorway. When an American comes there, a few years ago, there was no motorway. But the American will say, who built the motorway? And say the Chinese. When he goes back to the State Department, he writes his report and says, oh, we are in chaos. But the question remains, why would you take AU, deliver them, tell AU that we shall put you in the G20 when AU itself is not united? Medicine, COVID. You saw people fighting over COVID. COVID medicine. Miriam, didn't you see that? Even we put a CDC center. Some countries didn't even want their medicine to be touched by African Union. They wanted their medicine to come direct. Some countries in the European Union started sending medicine to countries they love most because we are not united. My aim here on earth, my objective here on earth, as long as I live, is to make sure that I talk about a united Africa, to create a united decision-making body that will deliver us, not to go on and look like beggars, being taken in a room when you have an office which is so expansive. You saw the rooms where people were meeting. Some of them are huge, like the Congolese delegation. Some of them are bigger than Double Matanga. They couldn't even fit in those rooms. The conditions in those rooms were not favorable. But the worst thing that saddens my heart is when they want to account for this money. They will tell us conditions that will make some African countries regret why they went there. Thank you. I land the mic, and Miriam, I give you the opportunity to ask your questions. Let's not deliver on that.
Yes.
You had a set of questions.
Yeah, but also I think it will be nice to just get the. We do have other people in the panel as well. I think we forgot about them for a minute there. We have Wanda, and also Samuel Tawish just joined. So perhaps their thoughts very quickly, and then we move on to the next matter.
Who wants to go first? Wanda? I can see Wanda's hand. And be precise, you have 1 minute.
Thank you so much. As Dr. Masanga is putting it, African Union has to come up with a structure that they can use to bargain. It's pointless to be invited by one country, then we go, we attend these meetings as a team of so many countries, and yet we are called African. Therefore, I feel like it's very important that the African Union structure itself, so that we have one body that will be communicating, or rather getting into negotiation. If I'm told the negotiator comes in the name of African, instead of having so many countries getting in. In this case, it is nation versus nation negotiation and not African negotiation. I yield.
Very well. Samuel Tawish.
Very well. Thank you so much, Dr. David Masanga. Thank you, Miriam Ogutu. And also thank you, Wanda, for your submissions. Miriam, briefly, I think I also join in echoing the sentiments that have been brought forth by Wanda. And I think what the African Union needs to do really, when you look into for example, the summit, the US-Africa summit, we wouldn't want to see a scenario where African leaders go there individually to present issues about their individual countries, when we can go there as a uniformed, in a uniform structure where African leaders can have, of course, a chosen person who is going to represent and air out the views or the grievances that the African continent has, and to some extent, those they feel that perhaps the Western power countries can be able to address. But when we do it individually, then we are losing it altogether. I think when we go as a team, we embolden ourselves, our voice becomes bigger, and also the opportunity for us to speak when we are united and when we are speaking in one voice becomes laudable, and even in terms of reaction and implementation becomes something that is a little bit quicker. So, Miriam, I also join Wanda and, of course, Dr. Masanga in saying that we will need to see the African Union really come out with coherent structures with which they are going to air their views, going forward. Because, again, this is a summit that is ongoing. We cannot be able to do it now. But I think it's a lesson learned that moving forward, we'll need to see the African Union really speak uniformly on matters that affect the continent of Africa. Because in my estimation, the problems that Uganda is facing, for example, are not different from the ones which Kenya is facing, or Equatorial Guinea, or Mozambique, Malawi, Zimbabwe, and the rest of the African countries. When the people of Uganda maybe go hungry, or when they feel, when they go through that poverty, it's the same scenario in Kenya, it's the same scenario in Rwanda, the same in Tanzania. And then why wouldn't we be able to put up all these things together and be able to present our issues together as a uniformed African Union? I think that is the way to go. These are lessons that we continue to learn, but we will not want to repeat them moving forward. We've had so many other summits before, and there are so many other summits underway, and we'll want to see Africa really speak in one power as a continent of Africa. And to a large extent, the people of the African continent will be benefiting. I submit to Miriam.
Thank you so much. Doc, before we move on to our next question, the submissions are being made, and of course the push by the US president to support the African Union in joining G22. Perhaps what we need to ask ourselves is whose interests has African Union always advanced? Whose interests will African Union advance while they join G20? G20. Remember the case of Dr. Arikana Chihombori, who was the AU representative at the US, and we saw when she was speaking against the relationship between the West and Africa, and she strongly believed, spoke about the great imbalance and the hypocrisy. The US and France, they influenced, the secretariat in the United African Union, and she was removed. We saw that. So while we're sitting here hoping that African Union will speak in one voice, but whose interest will they be representing? We know African Union is not independent. African Union is a doorkeeper. African Union does not truly capture and represent the interests and aspirations of the people in this continent. So is this just another way to pretend as if our voices are there, or they just need this organization there just to continue advancing their own interest? Because we have to look at whose interest has African Union always stood for as far as the international relations and dynamics is concerned.
Miriam, whose interest is it? Yes, you're asking a very serious question. Whose interest is it? I missed one of the parts because my mind was distracted somewhere.
Dr. Arikana Chihombori, you remember? She was speaking against the US and France. She was removed.
And she never lived.
She was removed.
Lived longer.
Yes, she was removed immediately. So whose interest?
Because there were French interests.
And the US, she spoke against them.
And these same interests are still there in the African Union. That's why you have 54 grown-ups wearing their suits and going there when they have an organization called Organization of African Unity or African Union. Now, why do you waste time with Mr. Muhammad Faki in the punchline? Why do you waste time with Mr. Muhammad Faki's? Why do you waste time in Muhammad Faki's position? Why does he also go there? So, 54 countries have gone there individually.
So do they need
Why
us
does
there?
AU go?
Do they need African Union in the G20 to continue advancing their interests? Now they'll have very easy access, pretending that we're there and our voices matter. Well, in the real interest, they're just looking for ways to continue influencing this continent. We have to ask, why do they actually need us there right now? What is the interest?
This is to cool us down, is to bring us, to cool us down, because we're asking for 2 seats on the United Nations Security Council.
So to hoodwink us, basically.
Yes. It's conmanship. Be honest.
Why can't the US support Africa Union getting a permanent position at the United Nations? That will make a lot of sense. Security Council,
yes,
right?
but they don't do it. If African Union applies for a seat on the United Nations Security Council, if United States says it can give them the seat, it will be given the same hour. Because, honestly, nobody will object. But here we are. When we ask for a seat on the same table to share the same cake, they don't want us to do.
A table that actually matters.
That matters.
Yeah.
So that you don't tell us I will be visiting you unknowingly. I was very upset when Joe Biden said, I will be visiting you. Don't worry, I will be coming. Come where? What are you bringing here? What are you bringing to Africa? Unakuja kufanya nini? You come for our roads to be closed. You come for police to harass us, not to drive in some areas. What are you bringing for us? Obama came here and left us with a swimming pool. Whose water has dried? Who goes? No, you tell me which match goes to Siaya. Tell me which team has ever come and gone to Siaya swimming pool. What type of leadership is this in Africa? Are we bewitched? The tragedy of Africa is that Gonya Gonya, you know, we have Gonya Gonya style. Can somebody repeat that for me? Gonya Gonya. Tunaomba omba. What omba omba when we have diamonds, cobalt? You know what? There is something that you don't know that I noticed yesterday. The leaders of East Africa now found themselves in the White House in front of Americans. They wanted to corner Mr. Tshisekedi. You know, we are free to talk about these things. Miriam, nobody should stop us. They wanted to corner Mr. Tshisekedi. But Mr. Tshisekedi was very clever. He went there first and told these guys, told the Americans, the guys coming here are the ones in arming mine, actually invading my country. They are here in my country. They are the ones mining my minerals, selling them out. They are here and they want me to meet you, to meet them. I'm not meeting them. And he went away. He was busy. Now, these guys who were fearing to meet in Nairobi thought that that was the center to meet. When you call them to meet in Nairobi, they say, hello, hello, uko wapi, kata simu, niko site. There was a kata site yesterday. Now, this Tshisekedi did not turn up. And the most interesting thing, Miriam, developing on your point here that you have made, the question that before their departure to Washington, D.C., they told M23 to capture some younger men and display them. These are tactics of these guys. I've been in war with them, I know. They have been doing this thing for a long time. They picked some rebels and they say you have been fighting in Congo on the side with Congolese army to display on Al Jazeera, where who is stupid to learn your tricks? You know, hii watu in your moto ya kuotea mbali, muwaotee mbali nyenye. Jamen, I've said this time and time again. At times in Africa, I tell you, the best man who did not go is the best guy. And as the professor from Khartoum University said, they stand for nothing and they fall for anything. Isn't it coming out to be true? They fell for this trick of G20 joining, African Union joining G20 as who? As an entity. Who has ratified the joining? Are all heads of state agreeing to join G20? And America? Who wants it? Nani alikwambia ulisikia wapi? Alright, you see? Mnangagwa must be smiling, and thanks to he better gives credit.
Yeah, because I've not really heard, Doc, you're right, I've not really had the leadership in the continent push to want to join G20. What the leadership in this continent has been pushing for is a permanent seat at the United Nations Security Council. But as you have rightfully put it, this is just a way to hoodwink, to just turn the attention, the other side, so that we don't keep hearing. Like Paul Kagame during the last UNGA, he really pushed for that, President Paul Kagame, and we saw the AU chairperson, President Macky Sall from Senegal also pushed for that, and other presidents in the continent. So I think it is a tactful move on the US's part to try to shift the attention to, and they're dangling now something else that looks a bit shiny and great, and for the leadership in the continent to feel like we will stand to gain from this. But that really is not the case. Because that is not what we have been pushing for, really. The push has been Africa. Now we have over 1.2 billion people. I think our voices matter, and it should be represented in UN's very important organ at the Security Council. But that is not something that perhaps the US is willing to support. So interesting.
Very, very interesting indeed, my dear sister. That is how Africa acts. That is the way they talk. Those are tough questions. They need answers, and Africans must give us answers. You tell me, where have you had an African saying, I want to join the G20? For what? It is just a conmanship style of saying, don't go to BRICS. BRICS. Because there is BRICS that is building BRICS, isn't it? That Brazil, those are coming up.
The third
force. And one of the allies of United States of America, the Saudi Arabia, because of the American support for Qatar, it is drifting towards BRICS and towards even working with Iran. They don't see any problem why they cannot work with Iran to bring peace in Yemen.
They have been great nemesis. I think they're coming together in that region might just be a good move for stability in Middle East. Dr.
Now, if you look at so far, Yemen has cooled down because there has been behind the scenes discussions with the Houthi rebels and other rebels that have taken up Yemen in Sana'a and other areas. So you can see the geopolitical, which we shall discuss on Monday. Don't forget, Monday, our last two shows will be Monday and Tuesday, and that will be the end of our shows. Not the Wednesday. No, Tuesday. That will be the end of our shows, and we call it a day, Miriam. That is that we shall discuss the global trends, the security trends in the Great Lakes. By football would have been finished, and then we go back to our rivalry which we used to have.
Yeah. There's something you say there, and I don't want to forget, when you're mentioning the issue to do with the Democratic Republic of Congo and Tshisekedi and how he escaped that meeting because they wanted to corner him. But also, there's a meeting that happened. Did you know that the M23 met with some people? Was it on Monday? The M23 met with MONUSCO. M23 met with this other It is something that the Democratic Republic of Congo has refused to announce, and yet the M23 met with MONUSCO, M23 met with the East African Force, M23 met with 4 key important bodies that are there to help in stabilizing that region. And their talks seems to have gone so well. But and they met also with the Democratic Republic of Congo forces, the official military of the DRC. So they had a very productive meeting. But it's very interesting that Tshisekedi would not even make this open, will not tell us about his army meeting with M23 and these other important institutions. Why do you think that is the case? And then he refuses to attend that meeting.
Because in that meeting, Miriam, if you wanted to know, I didn't want to tell you, is there were revelations. And Tshisekedi got the revelations before he flew up to the M23 said they are not fighting to overthrow Tshisekedi, but they want just Tshisekedi to recognize them. And thanks to President Kenyatta, who has been behind the scenes to make sure that some rebels, at the moment, the rebels who are here are also going for M23. So M23 is under threat from the rebels that were organized in Nairobi that would now want peace. They are not interested.
But
you come to our territory, we check on you. Now, in that meeting, thanks President Uhuru Kenyatta, and the Kenyatta go on doing these things quietly. You will be the winner, the world will see you. You will get a Nobel Prize. I'm telling you. The dynamics on the ground have changed. And that's why you see Kagame, who had voted never to meet President Ruto, was busy with President Ruto in the States.
Did he vow? Did he vow? Because he was very good friends with President Uhuru Kenyatta, because yes. President Uhuru Kenyatta is quite diplomatic.
Now, the situation is that what I've reliably got from my friend in Congo, who is close to these systems, said before Tshisekedi left, he had already got enough evidence that surely Rwanda had a hand in the M23. Because these guys are saying, we are not fighting for a state. We want you to recognize us. We want you also to take us back to Kinshasa, give us posts. We also want to be officers. We want to see our officers integrated in the army, given respect. So in the process, they divulged very serious information. So Tshisekedi saw it not necessary now to meet these same guys.
The M23, that meeting they had with the Rwanda, with the DR forces, they shared some vital information about who is supporting them. Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Because they had a meeting on Monday, and Tshisekedi is not speaking loud about it. They had a meeting on Monday.
He's not speaking because it is even more annoying. So to counter that, the Rwandese also said some section. The Rwandese M23. You know there are 2 M23. The one in Uganda and the one in Rwanda.
Uganda has the military headquarters for M23. Rwanda has the political headquarters for M23. Both governments have agreed, actually.
Yes. So the one in Rwanda brings a propaganda to say, we have somebody who has been working with the Congolese army to counter what the one in Uganda has already told those people that the troops, the Rwandese, are the ones who support us. Don't forget, there is also smearing bad blood, even if you see them standing together on the platform, between Uganda president and the President Kagame. They can say, they can shake hands, they can come in State House. Honestly speaking, I think it is better the world knows this. Today I'm speaking with a lot of energy. They can talk and say, smile, but when they go back, they have hatred for each other.
And it's very personal, on a very personal level.
And one was a student of the other. And that hatred is the one that is making M23 grow wings, legs, heads, and stomach. So if one side now comes out to say, hey, for us, we went to Congo, we wanted to pacify Congo, we wanted to get rid of ADF, we have picked them, we are picking them, we are killing them, we are, no, that's exactly what you, our medium, our language this side from the great city of 7 hills, the great city of 7 hills and the 7 rumors. Kampala has 7 rumors every day. And for us, we kill, we slaughter, we maim. He said we have gone to Congo to maim them, to finish them, to wipe up. That's the language. And they have done a great job so far. They have decapacitated the ADF capability to strike again into Kampala, which is a very great sign for us. It's a great achievement for any of us, the Ugandan Army and the UPDF. And thank you very much, President Museveni, for entry into Congo. So now, if you are in these rebel activities, there is one problem that you have to answer. You have to look back that Bashir is not going to help me anymore. So you are on your own. Now I'm talking like from an experience. Bashir will not give you air tickets, will not give you money, will not give you support, will not give you arms, will not give you food, will not drop you any helicopters if you have a problem. What do? You have to find a peace process. Isn't it, Miriam?
Mm-hmm.
And that is what I was speaking about the other week when I said key players are not sincere. They are insincere. There are lots of lies, dishonesty. Now, the honesty has started coming, and that's why Tshisekedi was very upset.
Okay.
Because also he is rumored to have had a hand in also having a counter measure against the man who is also countering or arming some of his nationals to rise against him. So he did not see it necessary to attend that meeting. Thank you.
Okay. The rest of the panelists are quiet. We had already jumped to another story. I don't know if they have something to add to that. The democratic.
Let's move on. We don't have much time.
Okay.
Unless someone has anything contrary to that.
All right. So anyway, the International Criminal Court has rejected an appeal against the conviction and the 25-year sentence for a Ugandan former child soldier who became a feared rebel commander. Dominic Ongwen was found guilty last year of crimes against humanity and war crimes committed by the Lord's Resistance Army, LRA, in northern Uganda between 2002 and 2005. So the question for this is, judging from the facts on the case and considering the fact that Ongwen was forced into joining the LRA as a minor, he was kidnapped on the way to school, and I think he was 9 or 10 years old. Doc, you know that story. And then he was forced to joining this rebel group. So the judgment, should they have considered the facts of the story and perhaps how he got himself in this LRA and perhaps given a more lenient judgment?
Miriam, I'm one of the few people who is very familiar with what you are talking about. Ongwen's upholding Ongwen's judgment and the sentence comes because of one factor only, one. The Uganda government gave amnesty, total amnesty. Mm-hmm. And let's get this very clear, those watching me, because I was at the center of all these negotiations. I negotiated amnesty for all the combatants. I negotiated Agenda 5, DDR, demobilization, disarmament, and the reintegration into Uganda People's Defense Forces, schools, back home, marriage, payments of reparations, and so on and so forth. The Uganda government constitutionally went back to parliament, passed a law, and Miriam, get this very clear, passed a law. It's a law. It is not just a street talk. A law saying that any rebel, anything that looks like a rebel, walks like a rebel, talks like a rebel, dances like a rebel, eats like a rebel. Are you hearing me? From 1981 to that date, 2008, and extended to 2010. They extended everything up to 2010. You come, you go to the bishop, you go to the embassy, you go to every place where there is a Ugandan authority. Surrender yourself, not surrender, fill the forms, fill everything. A judge, a Supreme Court judge, the highest judge, authorized by the Chief Justice and the Constitution of Republic of Uganda, will look at your papers. Your papers will be sent home from the embassy where you are, or from the church, if it was in Sudan, if it was anywhere in the world. It doesn't mean only in Uganda. Or in Uganda, you go to the parish and they say, I was involved in the rebel activities from 1981 up to 2010. I am coming back. I want to be a citizen free of any violence, any interaction with anything that wants to oppose and trigger a rebellion against the government of Uganda. Oh, so help me, oh God. And they stamp, are you hearing me? Stamp your paper very nicely, give you the certificate, give you money to resettle yourself, give you a blanket, saucepan, a panga, a sufuria, chakula, and so many things, and the pocket money and the money to start. What do you want to do? Do you want to go back in the army? Yes. If you want to go back in the army, they recruit you into UPDF. That was 2008, 2009. So many people took that opportunity, Miriam. I want to tell you here very frankly, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of thousands of Ugandans, including all combatants of the Lord Resistance Army, those who agreed with the Juba peace talks and agreement, the 5 agendas, they took their responsibility. Some went home. Some of the commanders, top commanders like Omwen, are in Uganda free, walking free. Did you know that? They are free in the streets of everywhere. They are digging, they are farming, they have brought families. They are even living, they are producing more children. Where it has caught Omwen, where Omwen was caught, is the refusal of adhering. They asked one question. I was watching the judges asking a question. And I was telling my friend, the lawyer, Chief Taku, that the question they will ask, did you or did you not? Did you ask for amnesty and tell all this to the Uganda government? Yes or no? He didn't ask for amnesty. Okay. So let everybody know that the sentencing and upholding depended on, not because there were no mitigating circumstances. Yes, Omwen was abducted and told to kill, not on his own will. Yes. But had that been the case, had he applied for asylum,
amnesty,
not asylum, had he applied for amnesty
would have been
from the authorities when it was given? Because remember, it is Uganda government that took the case there. So before you take any further steps, the case is in the ICC, but it was forwarded, referred, a referral came from the government of Uganda, not Moto. You know the other one of Mr. Moto something. Tawish, you know that term which Ocampo used the Moto. It is called Moto. He used that motion to come for Kenya. Kenya is different. He used his own powers as the chief prosecutor. The one of Uganda was referred to by Uganda government.
Okay.
So Uganda government took the case a background for sentencing. It says we gave amnesty. We put out amnesty lasted for this man refused. These are the people who came. They all told us they were abducted. We allowed them in the community. So he refused. He didn't take up the amnesty. Therefore, the law, international law, caught him up. Had he taken amnesty certificate, there's nowhere any international law can offer supersede the local jurisdiction of Uganda that has already got a constitution, because in any case, for you to sentence Ongwen and to leave him is no longer your national. He's a national of the property of the Uganda government. That once he is released, the Uganda government has to consent where you can take him after he has finished his sentence. It's 25 years. He will do 12 and a half. I think he has done how many? 7? He has remained with about 5 years to go. Miriam, believe me or not, in 5 years, he's a younger man. He could be out. And they will give him another nationality where he can go, and because there are no further charges after that. There is no further charge. He never interfered with any witness tampering. He never did anything. That is all what it is. I think I'm very clear on that point. If anybody has a question, I'm ready. The tough question is, why did he refuse to take the amnesty?
The amnesty. So he has himself to blame on that.
Yes.
Okay. I think that is well explained.
That's why I've not been. That's why I've not been very keen to discuss. And there's one thing that I want before you come in again. Is the chief prosecutor talks about opening up or reviewing Joseph Konyi's case.
Yeah.
I've always told the chief, you know, some of the things that these international agencies do is to lack what to do. There are so many crimes being committed by M23. Why don't you go there? If you open up the Konyi case, the people who have been looking for Ugandans who were not charged, the UPDF who were not charged, are going to come in like water. Miriam, do you see the problem? They are going to demand that also, can you review the case and see whether the commanders on the other side of President Museveni's army did not commit heinous crimes against the people of northern Uganda. So you are opening up a Pandora box which you might not control. I wish him good luck. Very good luck. I'm honest, because that will be very good for us now, for people to go in and ask, okay, you have opened the case, but why did you, in Bosnian case, in the Kosovo case, in Albanian case, in the Serbian case, we have taken both sides. Why did you then take one side? Tell us. Why? 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 How much money was paid for you to take one side? There are so many things that will open up. And I believe Mr. Khan does not need to go through that heavy stuff that can open up investigations against he himself about so many other things. So I leave you to that, and Miriam, that's the best I can explain to you today.
Okay, I think it's well explained. We can move on to the next topic as we near the conclusion of the show. South Africa's governing ANC starts its national conference today.
Miriam,
Yes.
Miriam, sorry for this interjection. I think there's one aspect that I didn't quite get clarification from Dr. Masanga when he was speaking about the jurisdiction of the International Criminal Court over Uganda in as far as Ongwen's case is concerned. And maybe what I really wanted to get from Dr. Masanga is, Uganda being a party and parcel of the Rome Statute and being party to the ICC, does it then mean that Uganda's constitution supersedes the Rome Statute in the case that maybe ICC cannot have jurisdiction over the Ongwen's case? Maybe just a small clarification from Dr. Masanga before you proceed.
Tawish, that question is to me?
Sure, Dr.
Yeah. First of all, Tawish, the ICC is complementary. It's a complementary case. Complementary status. The ICC does not override the national jurisdiction of any country. It works on complementarity status. Are you here? Are you with me here? I'm Bishop Masinde. Complementary status. You cannot come and override what Uganda's constitution has said. If those people from the Lord Resistance Army went and presented themselves to the judges, to the priests, to the embassies, and said, we want amnesty. The law in Uganda constitution is very clear. It was a constitutional matter that now you cannot come and again charge them when they have put themselves before the judges, which was a commission, amnesty commission, created, headed by the Supreme Court judge under the auspices of the Ugandan Supreme Court law. And that's it. So ICC has no jurisdiction, never on national jurisdiction. It works in complementarity. For example, if Kenya had to set up local courts in 2010, the Ocampo 6 would not have gone to the ICC. Have you got it?
I think we decided to take them there.
Yes, Dr. Masanga, I'm getting it.
But people refused and said, don't be vague.
Let's go to the
Let's
ICC.
go.
So we invited ICC, even ourselves.
We invited. Promote. Is it promote? There is something I'm looking for, Tawish, which a very famous word that just ran away from my head. This which Ocampo used so much, boromoto, moto something. You remember? Motion.
Yeah.
Which you just
I'm trying to figure out, but it's not coming, Dr. Masanga.
You remember the word he said? It was a famous word, everybody was using it. It was the motto. It's a motto something. So,
yeah.
So when you look at, it's not moot. It is called a Latin word. A Latin word meaning on it's on
Evolution.
what? That word comes out and goes.
It's convolution. But just to answer Doc, what Tavish was asking, the local law, or what is known as a municipal law in the international laws, is that is supreme. Our constitution is supreme in a country. It can't be over. No any other law can override that. So as Doc has explained there, the international laws, it's complementary, but once you ratify and you're part of it, so you have to work within that framework. All right, so can we move on to our last topic? South Africa's government, governing ANC, started its national conference today to elect its new leadership. President Cyril Ramaphosa is hoping to be re-elected as a party leader after escaping an impeachment inquiry earlier this week. This is after ANC members of parliament voted against the adoption of a report which found that he may have breached the country's anti-corruption legislation following the theft of a large sum of foreign currency at his private farm. Now the question is the Farmgate scandal an effort to fight against corruption, or was it a political witch hunt that may water down the fight against corruption in South Africa, and indeed, if we could just mirror what we see happening in other African countries?
Miriam, I am one of the few people. Let me take off my glasses and talk nicely. When relaxed, I'm not going to panic. Can I be allowed to relax a bit? I told you, there is one thing that you cannot do. And you cannot hide the sun or the moon. Whichever part of the world you go, you will see them there. Say, hello, I've seen you. From the word go, at the beginning, I was convinced that there was something that could come out. And if there was something, but I went further to research on this case, and I said, who is the complainant here? Ramaphosa. Whose money was it? Is there anybody who has come to say, I lost buffalo? My buffalo have not come and I paid money? None. Okay. Is there anybody who said, my money has been stolen by somebody? Did Ramaphosa make a report, or he decided to do peace talks with the thieves so that they don't come back again? Okay, where is the police report? You get my point, Miriam? No police report, no anti-corruption report, no Central Bank of the Reserve Bank of South Africa report, which says we have $500 or $4 million missing from our accounts. We lost them somewhere near Johannesburg, at Johannesburg Oliver Tambo Airport. It was very clear that Ramaphosa was going to come out very clear, very clean, and indeed the ANC at the moment cannot afford to have a leadership contest, because it is at the weakest point today. Just as all the political parties, you have seen in your country, I've read reports here where I am saying that Mr. Salat has been chucked out of Kano. You see how all the parties, how liberation parties, post-independence parties, and the pre-independence parties, that's how they operate. They reach a point where fatigue catches with all the leadership. Now, Gideon Moi has said, go. The same to ANC. Where we are right now, the African National Congress has been caught up in a web of fatigue evaluation exercise. for them to contest leadership and bring wrangles, they will lose more seats in parliament than they have been having for a long time. So for me, on the question of Ramaphosa, until Miriam, and the question is, why has South African police not charged Mr. Ramaphosa? Back to you, and others can make comments on it. I don't know whether that one answers your question. Does it answer your question?
It has. Wonder.
Because, Miriam, for it to be a case, there must be a police record. But the question is, why up to now? Instead, the parliament even did not do an impeachment. Because there is no complainant. We don't have a complainant. If the complainant comes up tomorrow, then you can think of charging Mr. Ramaphosa. The animals themselves were not slaughtered. No meat was lost on the way. No complaint anywhere. The owner came up on Sky News and said, I'm available, I'm here. And that money, I passed with it, and I didn't know that the animals were Mr. Ramaphosa's animals. I knew there was a farm selling buffalo meat, which everybody is looking for in Dubai. Miriam, do you have someone buffalo in Siaya or anywhere in the where we can get it? We can sell it so expensively in Dubai. Are our animals going to be safe? Are we going to go to grow buffalo now instead of cows? These are the questions we talk about next week or next year, January, when we begin our shows afresh. We have lined up these good shows for the people of Africa, for them to see. Yes, Tawish or Wanda. Wanda, you seem to have arrived, Miriam. You take the charge.
Okay.
Wanda. The gentlemen are there. I think Wanda seems to have arrived in a safe place.
Wanda, go ahead, and then Tawish, and then we can just end the show. Wanda, go ahead. All right.
He's in the noisy place.
No, not yet. All right, Tawish, go ahead.
Thank you so much, Miriam, and for Dr. Masanga's submission. I think it's important to stress the need for party discipline. And I mean, when you talk about ANC in South Africa and what they're going through today, the kind of turmoil that ANC and its leadership finds itself, it's very important to stress the need for discipline and some level of decorum within the political parties, especially the hierarchy. And Dr. Masanga has quite explicitly spoken about the issue of corruption, which appears to be to be eating into the unity of ANC in South Africa today. And I think we will want to see a scenario where the leaders, when they get the opportunity to serve, especially at the political parties, and also when it comes to the national leadership, that they are able really to embrace the unity of purpose and to make sure that they also make sure that the people who get elected or appointed into those very critical positions are people of high moral standards and of integrity. And I think maybe those are some of the issues that ANC continues to face today as some of the pitfalls. But by and large, I also suppose because of the wrangles that saw, for example, the ousting of the former and now late President Robert Mugabe from office, and the coming in of Cyril Ramaphosa, and there are so many other differences. There are so many other things boiling underground amongst the leadership of ANC. Those who feel like maybe they are trying also to try and strategize on how they are going to maybe uproot President Cyril Ramaphosa from office. And that's why you see there are so many things really which are coming to the fore. But I think in a nutshell, what is important is that parties must be able to instill and embrace discipline and have leaders of integrity really leading those political parties, and also when it comes to the national positions. Miriam, I submit.
Okay, thank you so much, Doc. As we end the show, do you end it for us? Is there something else that you'd like to add to what we've looked at today?
First of all, Miriam, I just wanted to ask one question before all of us, even including you. By the grace of graces of all Jesus Christ and the God Almighty, which team do you think will take the cup?
May the best team win.
Tawish?
I go first. I haven't changed quite my position from the word go. Obviously, I've never had such affection or great affection for France, and so I go for Argentina. Just to reaffirm my position, and I think that has all along been my position, even when the World Cup competition began, and even when Dr. Masanga asked this question when we had our last program. I think I still stand with Argentina, and I really hope that they are going to upset France, because I know they want to defend their position, but this time around we are going to upset that status quo.
Wanda? Mr. Wanda, just tell us, we want to hear your voice.
Argentina all the way, because I don't want to see a back-to-back for France.
You stand by?
France.
Argentina. I want Messi to retire with that trophy. That's why I don't want a back-to-back with France. I equally see France as Africans playing in a different or supporting a different continent. Therefore, I want Argentina for this time now.
Okay. Thank you very much. Pambe wa mapambe, wapi wewe? Pambe disappeared. Miriam, reconsider your position.
No, I'll just be enjoying my popcorn and other snacks. That will be my duty.
Gentlemen, thank you very much. I am with you. All the way. Argentina. Let it lose. Let it do what? But France should, God, please. Prayers. We put in prayers, not in bad faith. But we ask for mercy and look back and see how the French have collected money from Africa, oh God. How they've collected money from all these countries, Burkina Faso, Mali, Cote d'Ivoire, Congo, and how they have made these countries poor so that they cannot build their stadium. But then they came back and even collected the mothers of these children, and they put them in cardboard boxes in Paris, outskirts of the suburbs, in the shanties towns of Paris. Oh God, help us that day to make sure that France does not take this cup. On that note, you know the rivalry between where I am, London, and Paris. Miriam, is very clear. You can eat your popcorns, but we shall eat France that day. So thank you very much, you gentlemen, for supporting us, for supporting me, and me supporting you. Argentina, we came from, I gave my preferences. But the day Morocco, the day my teams were wiped out, I progressed and I stuck to Argentina. Whether we lose or we win, we would have done history, the best thing. But that day, God help us to get this cup and take it to Buenos Aires. Buenos Aires. Buenos Aires, Argentina, Falklands Islands. You see, there is something I learned today. Yes, when I was reading this book, I was reading this book of Chinua Achebe, where a man who went to study in Europe came and then bribed. Is no longer at ease. You remember that? No longer at ease. Go and read that book. You will find what Africa is going through at the moment. You will find what Africa is going through at the moment. You will find
Okay, we apologize for that problem. We've had a technical hitch from. Okay, we are back.
Is there a technical hitch? No. Miriam?
There was a bit, but you're back now.
Okay, thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. It looks like they are not very happy with us. The French seem to be very disturbed. And we call it a day. Thank you very much, Miriam. This being Sunday being our last Sunday for the year. And we shall do an African showdown. We shall look at all African countries one by one and find out whether this money came back or perfumes came back. So to me, I think people jetted in with perfumes in their countries. And this money might not come back until 2023 end or 24, when Joe Biden is again contesting with his nemesis called Trump. Because there's nobody who is going to beat Trump He's very popular. Americans are very radical. They are very violent. They need a violent man like Trump. So they will, of course, elevate him to party leader of the Republicans. I want to take this opportunity to thank all of you, to thank the television station in Nairobi, all of you, production team who have woken up very early in the morning. Remember, next year, January, we shall be waking up at 6 o'clock. We shall be in the studio. So prepare your arrangements will change. We want to go into full-fledged streams that will bring about the peace that Africa wants. Full-fledged African topics. Let's be the core point for Africa. And that is all what we need. Thank you very much, Miriam. Thank you, Wanda. Thank you, Tawish. Thank you, all of you. Many of you behind there, the production team in Nairobi. Asante sana. Kwaheri, Mungu awabariki. Listen to my tape on News Central. Stephen, give them the tape. You will see the logic. It has one accolades from one minister of foreign affairs of Nigeria. I didn't know they like me, but I thought they hated me. But there you are. It was a very good interview. Stephen supplied them. Wanda, you must have listened to the interview. Thank you very much. God bless you. And God bless Africa. In the name of Jesus Christ, our Lord. Amen.